This is FCTV, fan-controlled television. Programs created and produced for the fans, by the fans, of fan-controlled sports and entertainment. As always, power to the fans. And now, it's time for the show!
Oh, but...
Just taking notes. Just whipping through the notes. Whipping through the notes down the witch's road. Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's Friday, and it's time for Fan Control Fandom. Hi, I'm Kenny Stevenson.
Hi, and live from the Improv, I'm Alex Enriquez.
Hi, from the Yuck Yuck Hole outside of Taos, New Mexico.
From NoHo's own, the Chuckle Hut.
It's funny because places like that are real.
I won't get into how bad it is, but yeah, it's pretty bad out there.
You can catch me Fridays at the Yuck Yuck Hole outside of Buffalo, New York.
There's a venue on Melrose and like Cahuenga, and I want to go in just so bad, but the sign out front says The Hollywood Comedy.
Yeah, that place does open mics all day. Like, you can do an open mic there at like noon. I'm not kidding. It's a world. We're going to talk about it.
You saying that to me literally just threw me out of my reality.
I
was not here with us for a second.
Let's take you out of your reality and let's put you square into the Cape Space. That's called a segue. Cape Space, that's where we are. We are all content where people wear capes, superheroes, starship flyers, dragon flyers. They all wear capes except, well, I guess there was a lot of dusters. There was a lot of long coats, a lot of like, is your chest staying in this outfit? But hey, that's what we're talking about today. Agatha all along? I don't know. We're on this road. Who knows?
It was double stick all along?
Double stick for the win, man. It really...
Dude, you have to.
But Mad Matt wants to know, bro, is fan football over? It's never over, man. It's just unclear when it's coming back. Yeah, I know. I haven't seen it. You're lucky because there hasn't been a game in more than 2 years. So you're lucky if you haven't seen a game in 2 years. It's coming back. It's just not. Fan-controlled baseball was the most recent thing, which was a few weeks ago, minor league, and that worked out very well. So, keep plugging along.
I'll just say that the true fans still have fan-controlled fandom going in here because we were at the live event and ate the nachos that gave us the parasites in our tracheas. So that's... that's really true devotion, I think.
The true fan-controlled football were the friends that we made along the way.
You just heard how I was dissociating earlier? You just slam flat brought me back to phone stock reality. Let's do it. I'm here.
Yeah. You sound like you're on like your cell phone. Maybe
do I now?
Now you sound better. Yeah, I think
okay,
just Matt, you can download the Control app, and there's all kinds of announcements there as to when stuff is happening. Go to that. You can find out about the baseball. But we're talking about the quick pieces of nerd news, and there's a lot of different things happening. There's a lot of things happening right now. A lot of obscure references and things. I know this is something that you are probably geeked about, but they announced an animated dynamic duo movie, which is dynamic duo is Dick Grayson and Jason Todd, which are two different Robins. And they're apparently, this film will be made with puppetry animation that is quote unquote visually breathtaking, dynamically expressive, and more human. It's a project called Momo Animation, which is said to be a cross between stop-motion puppetry, CGI animation, and live-action real-time performance. I mean, okay.
I looked at their show reel, and the materials they showcase are pretty amazing. Like the physics of their figures. I don't know how much of it you can hang your hat on that's more than what Leica does or any of the other big houses, but... Sure. I'm wondering, will this be canonical like Monster Factory is, or whatever the movie coming up, Creature Commandos is?
Creature
The-
Commandos. I was gonna say Monster
yeah.
Factory. What the hell are you talking about?
Well,
Can you
I
give
don't
me-
know.
Can you give me like a brief, like couple sentence explanation as to what the dynamic duo is? I mean, I know it's like, oh, the dynamic duo, Batman and Robin, but this is specifically two Robins, right? Two Robins don't make a right.
And specifically, I think that's probably the name of the pilot episode. I'm just gonna go on a limb. I'd put a $50 bet on that. And as far as I know, this isn't really a team up that comics explores a lot. But what I will say is this is the first Robin and the second of the total 4 Robins, both of whom have gone on to take other like mantles. Dick Grayson becomes Nightwing in the late 70s, early 80s. With, you want to talk about a cowl on a costume. It's pretty fantastic. It's and then Jason Todd is killed by basically the readership. I don't know if you know about this story, but Jason Todd was the second Robin because Batman needed a Robin, and he was a troubled kid from the streets. And famously, he was kidnapped by Joker in an issue. And at the end of that issue, there were 2 phone numbers, one of which you called if you wanted him to live, and the other of which you called if you wanted him to die. And the readers voted for him to die. And so it's called Batman: A Death in the Family.
Oh yeah,
I know Todd.
I know the comic, but I didn't know that was like the fans voted to murder him. Well done, fans.
And I think it was a squeaker too.
That just goes to show you how toxic fandom has been for so long. Like prior to give, anytime you give fans a platform, it's just going to be nothing but why is there women in this?
We can make Batman sad. So they did that, and then he came back in the I think it was Hush storyline. Batman is fighting this villain who can counter his every move, and then figures out eventually that it's Jason Todd. And at this point in the continuity, he has gone from being a straight up villain to an anti-hero who works with the Bat family and maybe uses some methods that are a little rough for the Bat family sometimes.
More rough than being a billionaire using your money to take just full
Hold on a second.
The streets.
Hold on a second, Kenny. Hold on a second. Because Jason Todd...
Abab, all
Batmans are bastards. Jason Todd uses a gun sometimes. So he's a bad guy. That's how you know. He has a gun. Batman goes,
a bat gun.
I don't ever use guns except for on the cover of that one really prominent series in the 80s.
I don't ever use guns except when I take this gun out and fire like rubber pellets at people.
I don't ever use a gun, but doctors have said that when I dive kick a thug from a skyscraper, I approach the velocity of a bullet.
Because of my weight and speed. So apparently Matt Reeves is involved with this project, but it is not specifically connected to the Batman or the Penguin canon. And that's why there isn't a "the" in front of it, right? Because if it was, then if it was in the Matt Cannon Batman space, it would have to put a "the" in front of it because of the Batman and the Penguin. And maybe sometime they'll fix my Max and I'll be able to watch that Penguin show, but they still haven't fixed it. It's been over a month. I don't have access to Max. It's fantastic.
Here's the thing. At the back end of all that stuff is just like switches, and they can just go,
Alex,
here, we made it go good now.
Alex, I've said that on the phone so many times. I'm like, you
said make it go good now with the switch?
No, I did. No, but I said you have no problem turning it on. Like, if I were to go and just give you more money and if I were to go in and type in a whole other email and give you $7.99, I could get Max in 30 seconds. So how come you can't just turn it on? It is every single person I talk to is like, I think we got it fixed. All right, give it a shot. I'm like, nope. And they're like, God, I don't know. All right, here's a new ticket. Someone will be calling you in the next 48 hours. And then nobody calls. And then I have to follow up with them. And they're like, oh, what is this? I'm like, here's the ticket number. And they're like, oh, I realize you've been trying to log in. And then they tell me to use a login because I get my Max through AT&T. They tell me to use a login in AT&T that I have not used in over 20 years. Because it's my ex-girlfriend's name when we used to share a phone when we lived in New York together back in 2001. And that's the login they want me to use. And I'm like, you guys are out of your minds. Anyway, Let's
And
talk about.
for those of you that were on the fan-controlled pool for how long it would take for Kenny to bring up that he lived in New York again, mark it. It's October 4th. So that whoever had money on that date, you go ahead and cash in. Jessica's gonna take care of you.
All right, great. Well, did you know?
Sorry, I don't know.
It's okay. So Sony owns Spider-Man, and if they don't use Spider-Man, I think every 2 years they lose Spider-Man. So while it's taking some time to get Spider-Man 4 off the ground, they're making a Spider Noir show with Nicolas Cage, and he was just spotted on the set this week in like a 1930s setup, and I just could not be more excited for a piece of content.
I think this will be great. I think this is going to be so much fun. I'm very much looking forward to it, and let's do more of this stuff. Less. My mom was in a spider in the jungle before he died.
Oh gosh,
You
in
know?
the Amazon, she's studying
Yeah.
spiders, Madam Web. This to me is like slam dunk time here. It's like, you know what was really great when we put Nicolas Cage's Spider Noir. All right, let's just make it live action. Done. Like, I mean, you're already doing half the work here. It's fantastic. It's really great. Cage's character is Ben Reilly, a retired superhero with the powers of Spider-Man, who is too old and broken, both figuratively and literally, to suit up the way he used to. Instead, he takes low-level PI cases and stays out of the ones that involve high-profile names, like that of the mayor. Through flashbacks, we find out his past heroics and past failures that led him to this point. He is charming but weathered, and the pilot does an excellent job of setting him up for a good character arc moving forward. I do want to see Nicolas Cage like old and withered, and like flashbacking Nicolas Cage is everything. And you better de-age him.
Well, de-aging, yes, but I think that this is going to be a sort of a hybrid Mandalorian play where like you'll have whole episodes that are in flashback that are just the young Spider Noir fully masked, voiced over by Nicolas Cage.
But like, are they gonna like de-age the voice, or is it gonna be like,
Yeah, oh yeah, they'll modulate it up, and all his efforts will be like,
Oh, yeah, you totally got me.
you totally got me. Hey, did you did you see the unbearable weight of massive talent?
yes, yeah.
I loved how the de-aged Nicolas Cage in that actually sounded like young Nicolas Cage. I was like, that's what we need to have happen, man. It needs to be like, Vive la France, man! Come on! Like, it needs to be that.
The
I'm
Nick
Spider
Cage
Noir! Let's go!
the Nick Cage who's throwing playing cards at a talk show audience.
Oh my god! Who does like the German? He does the forward flip on the German show, and it
Yep.
was like a kick. That
Yep.
Nicolas Cage, the
Yep.
Nicolas Cage who's definitely not on cocaine. Did you
Yeah.
see this story out of from the director of Men in Black that came out this week?
Yeah, I didn't look into it further because I don't know. Tell me how to feel about it, Ken.
Here we go. I don't know how. I'm just gonna read the headline here. Men in Black director says Will Smith's farts force. That's as far as I can get. Men in Black director says Will Smith's farts forced them to evacuate the stage for 3 hours. Oh my God. Barry Sonnenfeld said the fart in question occurred during a scene in which Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones were hermetically sealed in a pod used for filming the transforming car. There are locks to prevent it from opening and falling. I say roll camera, and I hear Will Smith go, "Oh, Jesus. So sorry, Tommy. So sorry. Baz, get the ladder." And you hear Tommy saying, "That's fine, Will. No worries. Will, don't worry, Will." Anyway, I don't know what's going on, right? So we race the ladder over. Yeah, Tommy reaches his leg out as the ladder is coming over, races down the stairs. And what happened was Will Smith is a farter. It's just some people are. And you really don't want to be inside a very small, hermetically sealed space with a Will Smith fart. You don't even want to be sitting next to him at the Disney Ranch. We evacuated the stage for about 3 hours, and that's incredible. No, he's, a lovely guy. Just, he farts. Oh, shit. Amazing. Pardon my French.
He You
He
ever
just
did
farts.
you
He
ever
just farts.
I've never done anything in my life so bad that somebody had to like get out of somewhere for 3 hours, let alone fart. This dude should have checked for blood
I was
if
gonna
he's
say,
farting so
like,
bad.
if your farts are that bad, you gotta go see a gastroenterologist. Like, let's explore your diet.
They
What's
got to put
going
a
on,
camera
friend?
a camera in here and a camera in there and make them touch in the middle and just figure it out because more
Yeah,
fiber or less fiber, just
yeah.
something.
You gotta do an endoscopy and a colonoscopy all at once, and just see, look at the whole track, because something's not working, man. Something's not
Yeah.
working. But
Make the
I
little
don't know.
lenses clink together.
That was almost 30 years ago, so who knows? Leah Thompson, it's one of the most like storied fandom things is that they shot a large portion of the movie Back to the Future with another actor. Eric
Yeah.
Stoltz was another actor and shot like a lot of the movie. And then they did some tests and audiences did not like him. And so they fired him, recast it with,
Michael J. Fox.
Michael J. Fox, and everything has, been history. But Leah Thompson said recently on the Still Here Hollywood podcast that she was initially very distant to Michael J., thinking that his TV work on Family Ties wasn't up to snuff with her big screen successes. I love that. Just tell him. I remember specifically being really snooty because there was a big division between movie stars and TV stars at that point. I remember being like, he's just a TV star and I'm a movie star. I was in Jaws 3D. So I think it took me a while to warm up to him. This is because specifically she was friends with Eric Stoltz, having recently co-starred in the previous year in Cameron Crowe's penned movie The Wild Life. The two did not work together again, however, 1987, Some Kind of Wonderful is when they worked again, but they were friends. It was very hard for her to switch gears. I found this to be very surprising.
Right. I mean, their hairs are the same color.
Not quite. Not quite. Oh, you mean Leah Thompson and Eric Stoltz's?
Yeah,
I gotta
they're
tell
ginger. They're ginger
I
pals.
I included this in here because I got to tell you, mid-'80s Leah Thompson was about as good as it gets for me. I thought she was about the most, I'm like about 85. I'm like 9 years old, maybe 8 years old, because I'm turning 9 that year. So now I've really dated myself. But I remember like that Leah Thompson, she was something.
I remember I got to go to the premiere of a little movie called Dennis the Menace, featuring Walter Matthau and Joan Plowright as the Wilsons, and featuring Leah Thompson as Dennis's mom, right? And so I was like watching the movie. I'm like, oh, she's from Back to the Future. At that point, I was like not as big of like a student of that movie as I am now. And I see her in this movie where she's like 50s housewife in the thing the whole time. Then I got to go to the after party, and there she is, Leah Thompson, at arguably the height of her powers. This is between Back to the Future and Veronica's Closet, or Susie in the City, or whatever.
Susie in the City, yeah, exactly.
She was wearing one of those like bra tops that women used to wear in the 90s, and like a half jacket. And I'm telling you, listen to how I'm talking about this. I know how indelibly.
I'm reading your tone. I'm getting your tone.
I mean, literally, it's her and Beyonce in terms of like celebrity women I've seen in real life. Obviously, my wife trumps all of them.
When did you see Beyonce?
This would have been 2004, 2005 at the over here at the Kodak, or whatever they call it now. I was at something with my dad, and she walked by, and she was within about 10 feet of me, and I looked at her, and she was the first woman whose skin I noticed. Like, I was like, oh my God, her skin. Like, she really like obviously she's a beautiful woman, but like her skin looks really well cared for in a really like, I don't know. She just looks like a very well cared for person. She seems like soulfully well tended.
I love that for you. Soulfully
I don't know,
well
man.
tended.
I gave me a stomachache to say that. Ugh.
It's tough. I got one little piece of news.
Thanks, buddy.
You're welcome. I got one little piece of news, and it's more just for ourselves. And I didn't put it on the show notes. Todd Phillips, the director of a movie that we are not talking about this week, nor will we ever talk about, Joker, Folie à Deux, and a movie that is thankfully being trashed by critics hysterically. So many people are like, oh, when did these movies become like blueprints for Capitol stormers? And it's like, did you not watch the first movie? Like, it's insane to me reading some of these reviews. Anyway, Todd Phillips confirmed today that he is done with DC after the Joker sequel. And I just want to say, like, great.
Congratulations, Mr. Phillips. Maybe you could use your extra time for some humanitarian work.
Yeah,
Just
let's
a suggestion,
do
just
something.
an official suggestion here from the big broadcast.
Let's do something to make up for all the the people who live in the community in the Bronx who have been terrorized since the year of 2019 from people reenacting the staircase scene in the Bronx. They've been so many people dressing as the Joker, reenacting that scene, a scene which he is celebrating murdering a woman and her child. Let's just be very clear. That's what he's celebrating there, murdering a woman and a child. But hey, at least he's speaks for me, guy who thinks women like I'm celibate, but not because of my own decision. It's all the women's fault.
Why so serious? Can you?
I know, so terrible. Anyway,
I'm
we're
with
on
you,
the-
man. I'm with you. I'm with you so much, dude. I'm like, let's it's guys like Phillips, I think, leave a little vacuum of humanity in their wake sometimes, and it's time, Mr. Phillips, for you to fill it a little bit.
It's
Go out there and build a house for somebody.
You look at his first couple of movies and like old school, obviously classic film. I'm sure if you were to watch it now, there's probably 7 to 10 cringe-worthy lines of dialogue that are in that film. I haven't watched it. I'm just going to assume. He then made a Starsky and Hutch movie that I still can't believe they made. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. He made like a Starsky and Hutch 70s based like an episode of Starsky and Hutch, except with Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson. And I'm like, great. And it was a lot of fun. And then he made some other stuff that was fun. And then he just decided that, you know what I want to make? And like, it even like the original Joker on paper sounds great. Like, ooh, it's Taxi Driver meets the Joker. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, that sounds great. But then you realize the reason why Taxi Driver works is because there were consequences. and he actually doesn't follow through with his plan to assassinate the governor, and he then decides to redeem himself to try to save this 12-year-old Jodie Foster who is in prostitution. And that's why Taxi Driver works. But whereas the Joker basically asks the question, what if it was Taxi Driver but Travis Bickle wins? And you're like...
You mean Latka Gravis? Latka
What?
Gravis, I come to America. That guy, right?
Oh,
You're talking
no.
about him from.
No, not Andy Kaufman, played by Nicholas Braun in the Saturday Night movie directed by Jason Reitman. I don't mean that Taxi. I mean the Robert De Niro Scorsese movie Taxi Driver.
I need to get to a movie theater.
You do. I watched that Saturday Night movie. Here, this is a great story. We'll finish this and then we'll get to the rest of the show. We went to go see Saturday Night, the movie, the Jason Reitman movie about the first Saturday Night Live, and it's basically like I was calling it. It's the Fabelman's Licorice Pizza crossover we didn't know we needed, because
Awesome.
Lorne Michaels is played by the lead character from The Fabelmans, and Dick Ebersol is played by Philip Seymour Hoffman's son from Licorice Pizza, and they have like the exact same energy as those two characters. And it's like, and they both take place in the 70s. So it's like, and then it's everything. Anyway, so we're watching this movie and it's very frantic. It's very frenetic. And, you know, I'm like totally enjoying it. It's like the people they cast are like perfectly cast. There's some like yada-yadaing with history with it that are a little inaccurate. And then about like, I don't know, an hour and 15 minutes in, this was at the AMC at the Grove, much like when you and I saw Black Adam, the audio channels, like 7 of the audio channels drop out. And so most of the people sound like they're talking like this, and then one person sounds okay, and then everybody else goes back to talking like this until you can
Jeez.
barely. And so we went out to complain. A bunch of people complained, and they were like, "Oh, it's probably just the movie." I'm like, "It's not just the movie, okay? Like you can't hear what people are saying." And then they brought somebody in. He was like, "Oh yeah, there's something wrong." I'm like, "Yeah, I told you, dude." So then we had to leave. We left the movie like a half hour early, and they gave us like a guest pass. They gave us like free passes to come back. But they were like, you can feel free to stay, but we're not gonna rewind it back." I'm like, "Well, then you can get." But anyway, so I didn't finish the movie.
That sucks. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, but Nicholas Braun plays Andy Kaufman and Jim Henson.
Yeah, I saw that. They had somebody else lined up to play one of those, and they dropped out, right?
I don't know. The Jim Henson casting is fantastic. He looks the makeup and the hair they did on him. He looks exactly like him and sounds like him. The Kaufman doesn't really work. So if my guess would be he wasn't supposed to play Kaufman. If my guess was, but some of the people they picked to play Billy Crystal. Holy cow! It's like you might as well be his kid. It's insane.
Why is Billy Crystal there?
Billy Crystal was supposed to be in the first episode of SNL.
Really?
I think he is actually. I can't remember, but yeah, Billy Crystal was supposed to do 20 minutes. The original SNL, like the dress rehearsal was 3 hours long.
Jeez. And then there's something weird about how like the Muppet stuff couldn't be written by Muppet people, so it had to be written by the SNL staff who hated it.
Jim O'Donoghue, the guy they cast to play O'Donoghue is this actor whose name I forget, but he was on another the Reitman television show, Casual, the one that Michaela Watkins, great actor, super funny. I do not understand why he does not work all the time, but they cast him to play O'Donoghue, and he just absolutely crushes. Like some of the people they cast, like Dylan O'Brien, they cast to play Dan Aykroyd. His Dan Aykroyd is like, it's insane.
That looked fantastic.
But just the way he talks like Fred Garvin, male prostitute. He sounds exactly like, it's crazy. Like some of the stuff is the guy that cast to play Chevy is really good. The guy that plays
especially that. I think it's wise for them to kind of go back to OG hunk jock Chevy, because I feel like the Lampoon movies sort of angle him in the popular consciousness more toward bungling dad. But when he enters the scene, I mean, he's dashing, good-looking, jazz-drumming.
Well,
Chevy
that's
Chase.
why. Well, I mean, we're way off on a tangent here, but as somebody who grew up like Chevy Chase was my like comedic idol. He's like part of the reason why I did comedy. I am fully will admit that he is an absolute monster of a person, of a human being, like unbelievably. But like Fletch is, if you want to, Fletch to me is like absolute peak Chevy Chase. And because he is like dashing, but also like fast talk, that is as peak Chevy Chase as you can. And that's why it took forever for them to make another Fletch, because so many comedians didn't want to touch it. And it takes a guy with a hog like John Hamm to be like, I'll do it.
Yeah, see, you gotta have a lot of. You gotta have
that BDE, baby. And you know what?
John be a real fireman. You gotta be a real fireman to get in there.
John Hamm's got it, and I'll tell you what, he crushed it.
It worked. It totally worked.
Confess Fletch, and they just said they're not going to make another one, and it's disappointing because I feel like that movie is ripe for a TV show. Like, just do a John Hamm Fletch TV show on Paramount Plus and hire me to be the showrunner, and let's do it. Okay, we're on the Fan Control Sports Entertainment Network. We got to get one piece of sports news in. Adam, who the fuck is Adam? Pardon my French. Alex, will you take us out to the paddock? I just had an absolute stroke. It's
cool. You can't say that on the Twitch either. Hi, I'm Alex Enriquez. This is one piece of sports news. I'm going to take you out to the racetrack. We're in a bit of a lull from racing activities, but there is always off-track stuff to track. And as Red Bull falters in the standings, there is continuing discussion about where star driver and two-time world champion Max Verstappen will wind up. And it seems the top target, Mercedes, has cooled in negotiations. ... For now, question mark. That grammar surely suggested by both parties to kind of keep his value in the marketplace high. It'd be interesting to see Max Verstappen go from a Red Bull to a silver arrow. Kenny, back to you.
I don't know what that means, but hey, let's see it. We are deep in the 2 hours, 2 hours away from here, deep in the desert of Palm Springs. Tonight at 7:30 p.m., the Los Angeles Lakers will be tipping off preseason basketball. Yeah, that's right. Media Day was Monday. We get 4 days of practicing, and then we got to play a game. It is fully unknown whether LeBron James or Anthony Davis are going to even play tonight, but we will see rookies like Dalton Connect and the other LeBron James, Bronny James Jr., who plays for the Lakers and probably will only ever play in the G League this year, but you'll see him tonight. But more importantly, we get the debut of Coach J.J. Redick, making the big leap from podcasting to coaching, which means you and I are only one step away from coaching an NBA franchise. So let's go.
Give me the Pelicans or give me death, baby. Look, this is LA where dreams come true.
Where dreams come true. So that's happening tonight. I'm very excited for the return of basketball. I'm also very excited for the return of whoever our corporate sponsor is for the week. Alex, who's our sponsor?
Well, this happens to coincide with spooky season.
Ooh.
Roll your eyes, but also with our own presidential election, and that is we're running campaign ads for Igbeth, the president of spiders. He's running for president of all the spiders in the world, and he wants us to prevent some of his party platforms. Okay, so first of all, he is a true partyless political moderate. The only thing red or blue about Egbeth is his enormous and violent ass. He wants a compact with humans to regulate the size and shape of the vessels they use to move the spiders outside. They must be at least 400% the circumference of the spider and provide at least 6 inches of height clearance, which is reasonable. And Igbeth wants to say he's a president for all spiders, and he's a friend to the ant. And when it comes to flies, he says, live and let live wriggling in our webs until their insides are sufficiently liquefied for digestion. So that's Igbeth for president of spiders. He's got a real intricate party platform. One might say a web of party platforms ideas.
And do those webs exist in the Amazon? So
with your dad before her mom saw him die?
Yeah, fantastic. Anyway, let's get to this banger of an episode of Agatha All Along, where we're talking about I'll tell you what, that Witches Road song is a banger. It was already a banger, and then they found a way to make it more of a banger in this episode titled "If I Can't Reach You, Let My Song Teach You," which is a lyric of this one. It's written by Rachel Goldberg. No, directed. Sorry, I'll get there. Directed by Rachel Goldberg, written by Giovanna Sarquis. After burying Sharon, the Coven is forced to summon a replacement Green Witch. Rio emerges from Sharon's grave, much to Agatha's annoyance. The Coven encounter a house with a 1970s aesthetic that gives Alice grief. Upon entering, they find that it is a recording studio tied to Alice's mother, Lorna Wu. Just as Rio playfully suggests to Agatha that they betray the others, which is overheard by everyone, the teen accidentally plays a record backwards, summoning a demon that is part of a curse in Alice's family. In order to fight back, the group plays Lorna's version of the ballad, and Alice is able to successfully kill the demon. The teen is revealed to be severely wounded due to a glass shard stabbing him after he was thrown into the recording booth window by the curse, and the Coven escape the house to tend to him, saving his life. Lilia, Alice, and Jen bond with each other, while Rio implies the history between herself and Agatha. I don't think she implies it. I think she says it. Agatha checks on Agatha checks on the teen, who asks what happened to her son, but she ignores the question. Later, as Agatha tries to kiss Rio, she tells Agatha that the teen is not her son. Alex, what did you think of the episode?
I'm having such a good time watching the show. It is very, very different. It feels like on purpose they are either pushing themselves or being pushed to make interesting creative choices that are sort of different than we've seen before in the MCU. I will say I'm going to get a little spicy here.
Okay.
Secret South Park Easter egg reference that when they go to hand out instruments, the one black person gets the bass.
Why is that a South Park Easter egg?
That's a thing Eric Cartman says to Token. They're forming a band or something, and he says, "Token, you'll play the bass." And Token says, "Why do you think I can play the bass?" He's like, he's like, all black people can play the bass. And he says, I don't even have. He's like, you should check your bass. You probably have a bass. And he checks his bass. And we're like, yeah, we have a bass guitar down there, but I don't know how to play it. And when he finally relents and plays it, he's naturally good at playing the bass. So I couldn't help but make the connection there.
I love that South Park Easter egg, especially because they write my checks. Yeah. Well, yeah, I really am digging this show because you're right. I think we touched on this last week too. Like, this is very much this is a TV show. This is a TV show that is put together with this very well structured conceit. Like, they're going to walk this road, and every week there's going to be there's a challenge of the week. But there's also a literal linear path that they're going on. I mean, this is very much a TV show and is very much something that is like happening outside of the MCU, but still kind of within it because we get little things here and there. But I just really dig this. I dig that we're kind of living in like HBO shows. Like, it was Mayor of Easttown. Last week was supposed to be Big Little Lies. I think we thought it was we were saying that it was Real Housewives-y, but it was Big Little Lies was supposed to be the illusion. That's what the director said.
My thing was like is it Nora Ephron?
Oh, that's right, Nora Ephron.
Diane
that's
Keaton,
right. That's what we said. Nora Ephron. But actually, the director said it. No, it's supposed to be Big Little Lies, which I'm like, okay, got it. And this, to me, what was that show? It was like The Jinx? Not The Jinx. The one with Bobby Cannavale, where it was in the 70s and it was about a recording studio and it ran for a couple. The Minx? No, that's
The Minx.
No, Minx is with Jake Johnson, which is a fantastic show. You know, the duet?
The Deuce.
The Deuce, thank you. I think that's what they were going for here. But I love 70s stuff. I wish they would have pushed the like split screen and like zooms. I wish they would have pushed that a little bit more, frankly. But yeah, I just think overall this show just kind of, again, like if you look at the TV we've gotten this year, with the exception of Echo, like X-Men, the animated X-Men show, these are shows that are just like getting to really like, you're very low stakes in terms of like, you don't have to solve the multiverse saga. In fact, you don't have to even talk about the multiverse saga. You don't have to even be in the same whatever. You're like in this whole other plane. Who cares? But you get to go absolutely hog wild in here, and they're doing it. And I think it's fantastic.
It's expansive within itself. You know, pulling everybody literally out of the physical MCU into this alternate whatever the Witch's Road is, allows them to be in this like big, goofy, reality bent universe that, you know, everything makes sense. That they're just going to play a song. You know, just perfectly.
Yeah, well, I have a couple notes about that, but I want to touch on the
Aubrey Plaza's terrible drum miming.
Well, that's, you know, everyone's musical, and I mean, Sashir Zameda, even though it might have been the joke, she can't play bass. That she was, I don't know who was coaching her, but she was not playing that instrument well. But she did say she doesn't play it well, so that's fine. But this episode, shoot, what was I going to say? I'm going to get there. You were saying, say what you said again.
Help me. I can't see. Please save me. No. I don't know. It's just TV. It's big, goofy TV out there on the Witch's Road.
Yeah. So what I think too, I really appreciate with this show that I've been learning a lot since we've been like covering it, because I do my due diligence as a proper journalist and podcaster, is like the level of attention put into practicality in this show. Like, that this is a show, like, I think, like, what, I don't know if it's a mandate from Feige or what, but I think a lot of the other TV shows got bogged down in visual effects. Like, you know, the schedules got pushed around and people were like, the people were being worked crazy hours. And, you know, I think like there's a real dedication here to like, okay, we're on a road to somewhere. What's the illusion? Wizard of Oz, to the point where even Aubrey Plaza is skipping along the road like she's Dorothy. But we're also doing like, you know, we see the house off in the distance and that's just a backdrop. That's not like, or that's like a miniature. that they've made. Like the house last week was a miniature, so that when you're shooting at it, it looks like it's far away. Like, I mean, that's just like Star Wars, like a New Hope level, like practical. And like, there's some of the stuff they do, like last week where they did like the camera turns away and then turns back and the room is changed. Like that was all done practically in the moment. And I feel like I really appreciate that this show, like, did a lot of that this week. Like, we just had like, oh, I'm being attacked by the curse. We're just going to like we're going to put a weird thing in your costume that makes smoke come out of it. And we're going to get a fan and we're going to blow and we're just going to move the camera around like Sam Raimi did. And that's how we did it.
It also feels like I don't have a lot of familiarity with the original form of this IP, but like Dark Shadowsy, like that things are stripped down in that way. I mean, even using the force perspective on the model, we're so used to a computer making that whole thing and it getting really like, winky with how the perspective works. But this is the other side of winky, I guess, sort of indicating to you the irreality of it and being okay with that.
Yeah, and I think like there is something to be said. Like, I know, like, it was especially very easy, like, during COVID lockdowns, and you have, like, really strict, as I scratch the inside of my nose. I'm scratching, I'm not picking.
You went to the second knuckle, Kenny.
True. It's very easy in those times when you had like certain like union restrictions about how many people you could have on set to just be like, well, screw it, we'll just shoot in the volume because we can build on all this stuff and it's safe. And that makes perfect sense. You're shooting Ant-Man and Quantumania in like we don't even have like vaccines, and you're like, you gotta keep everybody away from each other. So yeah, shoot on the volume and make it all like, bleep blorp and glip glop and lava lamps happening around you and whatever.
And Bill Murray.
Yeah, and then just Bill Murray shows up. But like, there is still like, I think you can basically, there's no restrictions on shooting, but I know this was shooting last year before the strike. They had to stop. So there were still some protocols in place, but like there's something to like, okay, great. We can still build sets. We can still do stuff. And look, there's only 6 people in this scene, so we don't have a ton of extras. So if we do have protocols we have to adhere to, we don't have to just be like, screw it, let a computer do it. You know what I mean?
I do like that, and all of that is part and parcel of a particular aesthetic that they're going for. The sort. It's not. I mean, it only feels DIY compared to when everything's done by a computer. But I guess it's the hand crafted nature of it. It's tactile.
Yeah, oh, totally. Because, I mean, even a show like Game of Thrones is spending millions and millions of dollars, but they're spending that money on sets. Like, when you walk into, like, House of the Dragon, when they walk into, like, whatever, Stormborn, and it's, like, this giant play. I mean, that's, like, a real set. Like, that's not, like, a castle that exists. I mean, some of the exteriors are kept, but, like, you can still spend money on sets, but, like, this show to me is keeping it, like, the pitch on this to me is so smart and just, like, okay, like if you look at like what the problems that everybody knows that the MCU is having, and it's like, look, we can make this show, and here's how we're gonna do it. Like every episode's gonna be in a different room, basically, and then when they're not in this room, they're in this big soundstage that's a road, and it's like easy peasy, man. It's like really smart.
They had that location stuff up top, right? Where not even when they find the body at the first episode, that could have even been a set.
No, I think they were. I mean, whatever. Let's just say it. They're probably in Atlanta, and so that's fine.
But then, yeah, once they kind of cross through that threshold, it's all sets. It's all sound stages.
Sound stages. All right. So here's my one critique I will say about this episode. I still really enjoyed it. The thing that I was a little kind of, and I understand why we were in the kind of challenge less, because we wanted to explore character more. We wanted to like put this idea out that Agatha thinks Teen is her son, and whether he is or not is we'll see whether, because when somebody who seems to only be a liar tells you a truth, it's like, is it true or is it false? But they seemed to solve, comparatively speaking, we'd only seen one other challenge, which was very hard for them to solve, which was in terms of like layers to it. We have to drink this and it's actually poison, and we got to figure out what this poison is. And so we have our potions person here, and this potion person has to do this, this, and this. And that's how, and this is their challenge, and everybody sees like a flashback. You know what I mean? It was very intricate. This is like, we got to play this song. And then they go to play the song and they play it once and it works.
Yeah.
And I'm like, usually, like, especially in TV, as if you've written, like I've written many a pilot, none of which I don't know if they'll ever be seen, but usually especially like most pilots, most TV has what's called like a fake resolution, or like where they try something and everyone is convinced that it's going to work and then it doesn't. And that is like one of the most like typical things of a television show, like any television show, from The Bear to Game of House of the Dragon to Rings of Power. There's always like somebody tries to do something and they think it's going to work and then it doesn't. They have to try something else and like be true to themselves usually, and that's what works. And that's basic TV. And so, but this was like, I think we got to play this song. Okay, play it right. And that was it. They played it once. And that was it. And I was like, they needed to be like a time of them doing something else and failing first. But there wasn't.
Yeah,
You know what
I mean,
I
I agree with that. It didn't leave me cold in any way, but I mean,
No.
I see what you're saying.
I feel like what they were really going for was character. And if I'm like in putting myself in the mind of the showrunner of Jack Schaefer, I'm thinking like, well, okay, because we're making character the focus, character is what's going to get us through this challenge. And so we're focusing on, God, the character's name who just absolutely left my brain, Alice. If it's her character that is needed to kill this curse, then that's what we'll focus on. We don't need to focus on like nuts and bolts, like a pinch of this and a pinch of that. So I was like, okay, but there needed to be like, I guess, an attempt of her to try something and have it not work, as opposed to like her just saying like, you got to sing like you mean it, but we're just going to keep singing it this time. I was just like, okay.
I think my one kind of issue would basically center around the same thing, where that all came too fast, too easy, too good. Like,
yeah,
I'm not good at the bass guitar, but like the song sounds perfect. I don't know.
From the jump, the song sounds perfect. Even when she's like half-heartedly playing the piano, it's still great. Right,
I don't know how you get around that. I don't know what like because it's not. I don't think it's.
You have
satisfying.
her. You have her. Go ahead. I have an idea, but you go.
Oh no, I don't think I don't know how you get around the song being perfect. The song kind of has to, at the end, be, and I mean from like a technical production standpoint, you can't film those actors playing the song live to maintain so there's always going to be a brokenness of the illusion to me for any of that with like the perfectness of it. But like I said, that's just the thing that rankled me.
Well,
I don't know how
you could you have Agatha, because we're still at a point where like obviously clearly like one of the arcs of this show is going to be Agatha Harkness needs to learn to work with other people, right? Like she was the one who didn't drink the wine last episode. And so you could still have a little bit of that going on because it's only the second test. And then obviously the last test is going to be she is going to need everybody to help solve. Hello, doggy. She's going to need everyone's help to solve whatever her test is. And then that'll be because she actually took the time to connect with people. She'll have that. That's where we're going as an arc. So you just have her be like, you know what? We don't need Alice. Let's record this. Let's record the song. We all know it. Alice, if you're too scared, well, this is what we're doing. And then it doesn't work. And then they need Alice, and then Alice does it. You know what I mean? Like that's like a 2 minutes worth of the episode.
Yeah, I agree. I just they're trying to push ahead to something, and I think
because we had those revelations we wanted to get, because we all think that the teen is her son, Nicholas. What is it? Eric Voss has it. Nicholas
Nicholas
something.
Scratch.
Scratch is who her son is in the comics. People now I know that there is. You said last week because of the Funko Pop, like who he is out in the world. Also, who Aubrey Plaza is out in the world.
Right.
I don't want to know either of those things, so I don't want to know. But there is a lot of conjecture as to who the teen could be. So I'm interested to see. But I like actually that I'm of the mindset that Aubrey Plaza's character Rio is right and the teen is not her son. I know what is out there for Funko Pop reasons, but I think in terms of storytelling, I like kind of crossing that off the board at this point. If it ends up being the case, that's fine, but I love that that's off the table for the moment.
She could also be telling the truth as far as she knows it too, because they indicated in this episode that there is a struggle that people could go through that would wipe their memory of one another. And what if that just extends to Aubrey Plaza as well? She only thinks that because she's cursed to think that's the real thing as well. I also have a little thing. Do you think Agatha is motivated by a little bit of, well, you would just as soon betray me, which is do that. You would betray me. So I'm going to do it to you before you do it to me.
Maybe that's a good point because of this episode, I feel like Catherine Hahn, who is still just absolutely cooking like nobody's business on this
Watch
show.
this.
Yeah.
That's what she does.
She is just cooking on this episode. When she's just look at me, and she's got that tape is doing all the work, but it's still she looks, not only does she look incredible, but she to me, good acting is when you change someone's costume, there is changes. It doesn't just that same person in a different costume. You know what I mean? She is the same person, but she's also affecting other things. There's just anyway, the performances in this show are all top notch.
So the way she she feels herself when she's feeling herself, how she does it in this completely over the top, but also still kind of restrained way. She's very, very, very good at it.
Yeah, and she has those moments where she's talking to Teen and they're talking and she has very sincere moments where but then he asks if he put the sigil on her. Is that what he said? No, he asked her what happened to her son, or he asked her some serious question. And she goes back to her voice, her normal Agatha Harkness voice, and puts on her mask and walks away. And that to me is great, multi-layered. We especially if you're asking people to get on board with a villain who is somebody who is a villain you have to give them moments of humanity so we can relate, but you still have to keep them. They still have to be able to pull that out,
You're ultimately, on a certain level, you have to make the audience able to root for this character, the protagonist, to overcome their challenges and win the goal.
Yeah, so speaking of which, we've got 5 more episodes. This is a 9-episode season. Ooh. We only have, in terms of challenges on the road, we've got Patti LuPone's. I'm assuming she's probably next. Then you're going to have one for Aubrey Plaza and one for Agatha. And I don't know, maybe one for the teen. That's still at least 1 or 2 episodes that are not here we are doing a challenge episode. So I just want us to be sit in speculation corner for a second and just make wild speculations as to where this is going.
I mean, I think something today, I watched the episode today. Something they said today even made me think we might see Doctor Strange.
Oh, hold on one second. I was thinking that Elizabeth Olsen's going to show up.
Either or. I mean, and I remembered what it was, by the way. Sashir Zameda says they caught her at this conference, right? Uh-huh. I still don't know how he did it.
Oh yeah, no, I feel like that's another. I
And
want to talk about that too. I feel
First,
like it's either
first
Doctor
do no
Strange.
harm.
Yeah, that is Doctor Strange. But there was that guy that we saw in her last who tried to drown her, and he clearly looked
The
like a
Doctor
doctor.
Man. Yeah,
Yeah,
stupid.
but I don't know.
Forget it. Doctor Strange is going to be in it. I'm an
He
idiot.
could still be Mephisto. I just think I could see myself. Hold on.
Here's another thing I'm going to speculate. You know who I think could be in it? Harry Potter.
I love that.
It'll be.
I love that for us.
It's going to be great. He'll show up and it'll probably be like the little kid version. It won't be like adult Harry who's an Auror with the Ministry of Magic. It'll be like, cool, blimey, I'm the boy what lived. And then he shows up and they're like, oh, well, we're all set now. We got this little boy with us.
the boy who lived. I could just see like an end of episode 9, like something that cues in that Wanda's alive, because I don't think she's actually dead. There was that big red flash of something kind of magic happening because I do think there is going to be some sort of like, hey, psych, she's not bad.
Yeah. Psych,
Like-
we got a big enough contract in front of her.
Oh, she'll do it. Elizabeth Olsen will do it. Is this Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Trek, baby. All this
Yeah.
mind screwiness and little contained environments. It's very holodeck / when Kirk would go down to a planet and it just happens to look like ancient Rome.
Yeah. Oh no, this is Star Trek-y. Like oh hey, we're on this planet, but because this planet is run by an alien that's just a blob that scans your mind, and you were listening to jazz this morning, James T. Kirk, we're in like a jazz club or what? You know what I mean? Like oh, I made an environment that is more susceptible to your memory, like that kind of stuff.
By the way, don't ever examine the fact that the only references they have between their own time and our time are up to our time. There's nothing like, oh, I was listening to that hit from the year 2100 by John Bon Jovi Jr. or whatever.
Yeah, it's hilarious that they're like, oh, we're in.
Did I lose you?
No, I'm here. Can you hear me? No,
Okay,
I love.
yeah,
It's never like, oh, we're in an American Earth bar from the year 2024. No, it's always like we are in an American Earth bar in 1968.
Yeah. Yes, they never went like the mid future.
Yeah, I love it. Love me some Star Trek. All right, who's the big winner this episode?
I think it's Catherine Hahn once again, and a little. Actually, no. You know what? I'm going to say the big winner is Aubrey Plaza, because I think that she not only got to show a kind of a side of her comedic voice that I don't think she's really gotten to exercise in most of the stuff I've seen her in. April Ludgate is such a kind of stereotype, brooding girl and I think that people see her like that. And while she may embody that a little bit in her own person, she also has these flights of silliness that are apparent. But also, I think overall she's the big winner, because I don't know if you've heard any of these stories about her living with Patti LuPone. But
I have, yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah, this is she's living a dream life, that Aubrey Plaza, and frankly, I think that the stroke that she suffered at the age of 15 was worth it, or whatever.
Yeah, asked recently in an interview on The Daily Show who would be her in her coven, and she said actually Patti LuPone, and then the last person who she would have in her coven, Nicolas Cage. So that's very much a big winner. I'm just going to throw another name out there just because, so we could talk about somebody else. Ali On, who plays Alice, I thought she did a great job. They did. The only reason why this even works is because we have to feel that there's some sort of like arc happening in 17 to 19 minutes worth of television, and she does a pretty good job. I thought she's a good actress. She handles this stuff pretty well, and I thought she did a great job. Loser. I mean, we weren't near any water, so I feel like
frankly, Kenny, that hasn't stopped us before.
I know, but we said last week we're kind of going to put this on hold for the time being because, we're only now, as every day gets us one day closer to Valentine's Day, which is, our Christmas, and we're like about 4 months away.
Yeah, I think, but we still look. We're gonna still keep the campfires burning, because just because there wasn't a war on didn't mean all those kings and samurais let their swords get rusty. You know what I'm saying?
True. I like what you're saying. This.
If you don't, you stay ready. You don't have to get ready. I think
I love
that's
that. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. King Uzi
that's what Dead
wants to
Prez
know,
says.
Yeah, if you guys are still selling team merch, I don't know. Go to fcf.io. We don't know when the next season is starting, but go to fcf.io or download the Control app for all your information.
And I happen to know that fan-controlled fandom T-shirts featuring our faces are 50% off this weekend through Labor Day of next year.
Of next year, yeah, because they don't exist. Do we have another ad read from the guy running to be president of Spiders? Or
Agatha is the president running to be president of the Spiders. This is some of his campaign platform, the planks in his campaign platform. Actually, just wanted to kind of underscore some of his achievements recently. Igbeth was a key member of the negotiating committee that settled the longshoreman strike just this week.
Oh, fantastic.
And in terms of finding common ground, Igbeth is willing to get all spiders to stay out of showers. If we all agree to use just 25% less pesticides, it's a more than reasonable compromise. Okay. And speaking of compromises, Igbeth, his official position is that it's time to cede Australia to the spiders. All people leave it to the spiders. Obviously, they have ones that are the size and weight of a catcher's mitt, and I think, isn't it? And Igbeth says, isn't it better the spiders have it than the filthy serpents and marsupials? So that's Igbeth for president of the spiders.
I saw a documentary in biology in sophomore year of high school that said that in like 50 years, so we're only like 20 years away from it now, that there will be more spiders. Maybe it's like 100 years. There will be more spiders than there are people, and it's like not like, but like 10,000. Like spiders will basically have control of the earth just in terms of numbers. And I'm like, I love that for them.
Hey man, if they can get my paycheck arriving on time, I don't care who's running the shop. I would say,
as long as you can sign my check, there, gang. Come on.
Yeah, as long as you don't make me join no union.
I live in a right to work state. Whatever. Anyway, you know what time it is now?
Bye. Body. Feel the rhythm. It's excited. Ooh, yes,
this
it
is the best.
It is game time.
This is the best lunchtime hour you'll ever spend. Alex, it's your game. What are we playing?
We're gonna play a little game. I hate to get political, but in light of just discussions that have happened this week, I want to play a little game called True or Walls. This is the Tim Walls.
I love me some
True
Tim
or False bio game. He's got a lot of stuff in his bio that you'd say this guy from the middle of nowhere, Minnesota, did all this, and so I'm just gonna play a little game with that. And I'm gonna read a fact. You're gonna tell me whether it's true or false. Okay?
Got it.
So we're gonna start. We're gonna say first, he was actually born in Minnesota.
That's false. He was born in Nebraska.
True. No, Wisconsin.
Okay.
He was raised in a town called Fjart, Wisconsin.
False.
False. He was raised in Butte, Wisconsin, not Fjart. So amongst his teaching experiences, he counts teaching high school in China. True or false?
True.
True. He was one of the first government-sanctioned U.S. educators to be allowed to teach in China. Chinese students were said to have found U.S. education wanting. So they would say, you go to one of these U.S. education classes and you're just curious again an hour later. True or false? Does Tim Walls speak Chinese?
No.
False. He speaks Mandarin, completely different language. He served in the Army National Guard for almost 25 years. True or false?
That's true.
That's true. Is it true or false he once killed an enemy with his bare hands?
I wouldn't put it past him. I'm going to say true.
It's false, but he would be the first VP since George H.W. Bush to be able to.
Oh, wow.
True or false, he knows when to hold them / fold them.
Oh, true. Absolutely true.
False. That's the gambler, but we also would have accepted Kenny Rogers. Actually, I'm being told that we wouldn't have accepted Kenny Rogers, and I am being deducted 5 points.
Okay.
Walls' son is the product of some of New York and Florida's finest boarding schools.
No.
False. He goes to public high school in Minnesota.
Yep.
Tim Walls' total investment portfolio in 2020 was worth north of $2 million. much lower than that of his contemporaries.
True?
False, because he actually has no investment portfolio, and the fact that part of me finds that worrying means that self-loathing is an exciting new phase of my late-stage capitalism experience. Okay, so true or false? He said he was inspired to join John Kerry's campaign after he took a group of high school students to a George W. Bush campaign rally, and security interrogated one of his students because he had a Kerry sticker on his wallet.
True.
True, and some say it's the only time John Kerry ever inspired anything. Is it true or false? True or false? True or false, he can be a knucklehead sometimes.
True.
True, but then again, can't we all sometimes? I mean, isn't everyone involved in this right now and watching it involved in a big old knuckleheaded thing right now? I mean, what the heck is Twitch talk or whatever? Have some egg bake. And that was True or Walls, the ultimate Tim Walls bio quiz.
Have some egg bake. I love a good egg bake. I love a good egg bake with a little egg whip on the side. We're now at the point of the show. King Uzi wants to know why it's taking so long for the next season. I don't know. Watch the Fan Controlled show on Thursdays at 2:30 PST, and you can ask the guys who host that show. They have more information than I do.
They're developing the newest batch of players in a pod somewhere in Tampa, Florida. The hurricane knocked out the power for a little bit, but they're thinking of getting those things back online just ASAP.
All right, so I gotta get out of here. This is the part of the show where we go Hoopla recommendations. You can enter in your library card, and then Hoopla will let you check out comic books. Alex, you have a recommendation for the folks?
It's not on Hoopla, but there's a new album out called The New Sound. It's by Jordy Greep. It's very weird. I don't know if I'm enjoying it. I don't know if it's good, but I think you should listen to it. And I said on Threads, it's like if Steely Dan sat down one day and said, okay, guys, this one's just for us.
Jordy Greep. I love it.
That's real. That's all real.
I know it is. I'm making my way through all of the Star Wars High Republic books, comic books. I am currently reading not the Marvel run of High Republic comics. It's called Star Wars: The High Republic Adventures, the complete Phase 1. I believe this was released through Dark Horse Comics. But Danielle Jose Older, who also has written a bunch of the books, wrote all of these. It's all great. It's all connected. Characters from the books show up in them. It's fantastic stuff. Get into the High Republic, man. It's like Star Wars never ends.
I'm up on it. Let's do it.
All right. One more ad read from the King of Spiders.
Igbeth running for president of Spiders. He's going to continue to not be a burden to housing by continuing their millennia-long tradition of just blasting their own houses out of their asses. Igbeth is proposing that Spiders adopt a new national anthem and that it should be Santeria by Sublime. And he wishes to finally unite with the Scorpions. Weavers and Stingers must cease their feuding, for 8 legs have both. And let's be honest, we've got bigger enemies. What? We weren't talking about humans. So that's Igbeth for president of Spiders.
Holy cow, man. That is some next level nonsense. I love it.
Thank you.
I love it. I love it. It's so great. Speaking of the animals, what did your dogs think of Agatha all along?
Well, Lupo wishes I hadn't just waked him up that time just now.
My dog was asleep in the other room, so she was interested last week, and this week she's like, I'm over it. But I do have fleas. That's what she said.
Good.
Yeah, that's what she says. All right, we did
Another
it.
Bye. Bye.
I know. We got to get out of here. I got to go. I have an audition. I've got Hollywood stuff to do.
He's
Alex,
got to go to Ocean Park. Follow me at Duke_Midnight, MIDNITE on Threads and Instagram and wherever major magazines are sold.
You can find me at Kenny G. Stevenson on TikTok and Twitch. Kenny G. Donut King on Threads and Instagram. And on October 25th at 8 p.m., address soon to be pending, I am going to be hosting a fundraiser for a candidate for City Council of Culver City. The candidate's name is Nancy Barba. Go to nancybarba.com to check her out. But got a wonderful lineup of comedians coming. I've got Daniel Van Kirk. I've got Dan Mintz. I've got Aparna Nancherla. I've got Brett Weinbach. I've got Madison Shepard. I've got Alana Sullivan doing a tap dance with her friend Alicia as JD Vance and Tim Walls. I'm forgetting somebody, but the more announcements to come.
Now I'm glad I couldn't do it. That's an intimidating lineup. I could not.
Yeah.
I could not share stage time with Aparna Nancherla. Like seriously.
I have to. So, but come check it out. Go to
God bless you.
nancybarber.com for those details. We'll see you next week to talk more about Agatha all along. I have to
Break
go.
a leg on your audition, Kenny. Bye.